All right, welcome back to TML Weekly. As always, brought to you by Bjorn and Don Cherry Sports Grill. And speaking of Bjorn, I know Jan wanted to mention something new.
Look at those! Look at those Bjorn from our friends at Bjorn, and they're actually the Halifax Hawks Bjorn gloves. So going to be flying off the shelves here while the kids transition from winter to spring hockey. Which brings me to, hey, we wrapped up. So Jack's team, as you guys know, U11 AA. It's the top level of U11, which is the old Adam. And we had most of the top teams in Atlantic Canada here at a tournament called the SEDMA. And SEDMA's been around. I'm pretty sure I played in the first one in 1978. Very, very famous tournament. A lot of European teams used to come to it. There's a team here this year from Ireland in one of the other divisions. But it's kind of like the traditional end of the year East Coast elite level winter wrap up, right? So the boys, came in and played hard. There was two teams from Fredericton. One of them beat us twice. It's a knockout kind of thing, and you go through brackets. And one of them beat us twice, and the other one beat us once. And so the boys ended up, third out of 15 or 16 teams that were here. And the last, the top Nova Scotian team, which is great. These New Brunswick teams, Moncton's unreal. They're missing their best player. But the Fredericton teams, man, you should see them play hockey. Heavy on pucks. They're fun to watch. Really enjoyable tournament. The kids had a great time. They played great. They were down 1 goal to both Fredericton teams going into the third, and just kind of ran out of gas. They were a machine. But great year. Jack had a great time. He moves up to U13. So those of you who are in Ontario, they do two-year age groups here. So next year at U13, Jack will be a first year, but he'll play with kids a year older. So every year you kind of do that. But great year. He had a fantastic time with his teammates and coaches, and the other parents were great. So shout out to the U11 AA Halifax Hawks, and on to U13 in the fall. But we're here to talk about the Leafs. The week that was, I think I was pretty close to. What did we do for predictions? I think I said 7 out of 8, or I said 5 out of 8. I thought.
I think it was 6. I think it was at 6, wasn't it?
No, they ended with 7 though.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They ended with 7, and you know what? You give up the point in San Jose, but the positives coming out of that is you scored too late. Those are the little things that are going to matter in a couple weeks. Forget about the whole. I mean, take a little bit of a breakdown approach to it. I would take that out of that. Okay, I would take that out of that, and then you go in and you beat a really, really good LA team at home. Yeah, we talked about it last week. That's a hockey club that doesn't lose very often at home. Edmonton Oilers and their fan base and their team are very concerned about losing home ice advantage in that series. That's how good they were, and they were that good that night. Toronto played well. That's a good hockey game. Then you go into Anaheim, and as expected, I mean, they handled their business there. If you look at what's happening in the playoff hunt right now, obviously you want to win the division. Everybody's talking about that. I'm a little nervous at Ottawa. I don't know about you guys, but
Yeah,
if my
I'd almost rather.
if my prize for winning is Ottawa,
Yeah.
we've talked about Brady Tkachuk and what he brings to the table. Linus Ullmark's been there. They've got a really good group, and you, John, you say it every time Toronto's playing Ottawa, Buffalo, Detroit, Montreal. Doesn't matter where they are in the standings.
Nope.
Those guys come into Toronto to play, right? And everybody wants to beat Toronto, and nobody more than Ottawa. And they've been in the playoffs since I don't even know when. It's been 7, 8, 9, 10 years now, right? So that city will be buzzing. But at the end of the day, the Toronto Maple Leafs have the best constructed roster, if not in the National Hockey League, in the Eastern Conference. In my opinion, I've never said that. I've said, they have a chance. But if you look at this roster, look who did you hear was skating today, full practice? Hakanpää, back full. I'm not saying Hakanpää is going to be the answer, but when you get a 7 or 8 guy like Hakanpää and a couple of guys go down, you're not giving up what you've given up in the past. Max Pacioretty, another big, heavy forward that gives you more combinations, right? I think you think about the lottery balls in the old days, and they put all the balls, and how many different combinations was there to win the lottery? Well, it's kind of like that when you're putting together a lineup from night to night to night, and if you have guys that can play, we're gonna have 5 guys in the press box on opening night of the playoffs. Let's say everybody's healthy, nobody else goes down. That probably 12 of the teams out of the 16 that are in the playoffs would love to have all 5 of those guys in their line. That's where we are right now, and that credit hats off to Treliving. I mean, he's kind of pushed the right buttons. We'll see. Again, we could sit here and yap like we do every year. They got to do it on the ice, but I mean, it's set, right? You got a different coach. You've got a different mindset. You've got, all kinds of things going for you. But I love the fact that the playoffs really are right now, right? You're jockeying for position. And you know what? If you go and you win and Florida wins too and you get Tampa, I would almost rather Tampa than Ottawa, to be honest with you. So if somebody's going to pass the Toronto Maple Leafs, let's hope it's Florida. I would rather, and I'm not saying I want Tampa because Tampa's a good hockey club. They won. They've got a goaltender that can win a series by himself. Kucherov is next level. Like just go online and look at a game sheet from Tampa. I don't care when. I don't care who they're playing.
Pick a night.
2 apples and a goal most nights, right? And 3 or 4 other chances. He's made. We talked about the most underrated defenseman in the NHL after the Four Nations, Jacob Slavin. Kucherov is probably the most underrated forward. And how do you say that when a guy's winning scoring titles or tying for them? Or it doesn't matter. You think, Stamkos leaves, there's going to be more pressure on. He's better. He just goes out and gets pucks to the net. Got a little bit of a nasty side to him, which you see from time to time. So I don't know. But at the end of the day, you got to beat everybody, right? So if you get a good team in the first round, perfect, because now you'll be more ready for the second round. That's the way you got to look. What are your thoughts, John? Like where it's goofy because I wake up every day and look at the standings and do math and go, oh, what about, and then you're not just looking at the top 3, you're looking at the wild card guys, right? Right now it looks like, because the Atlantic leader is not going to catch Washington. So it's going to be Ottawa. Ottawa's almost locked into that spot.
Yeah. And so it's really funny going back to the start of this road trip. I'm going to give you a little Maple Leafs math here before I give you the my opinion on it. We come out, we lay an egg in San Jose. San Jose, I think since January the 1st has played 25 playoff teams, and their record against those playoff teams is 2 wins and 23 losses. Both wins have come against the Leafs.
Yep.
Now, the Leafs lose to San Jose. We look terrible. We go out, we lose, or we beat the Kings on home ice, who are almost unbeatable. And then the Kings go out and smash San Jose 8-1. If that's not Maple Leafs math, I don't know what is.
Yeah, but you're talking nonsense again because that's stuff.
No, I'm just. It's very on brand for the Leafs. That's all I'm saying. It's very on brand for the Leafs.
Don't disagree, but look at the big picture. They got 7 out of 8.
So let me finish. I'm just saying, very on brand. Now, after the San Jose game, when the world was ending and everything was falling apart, let's go back to Craig Berube and him being calm. Okay, I looked at that. If we had played that Los Angeles team last year, the year before, 3 years ago, and we got down that first goal, right? The whole platform of that game would have changed. We would have pressed. We would have got away from our game plan. We would have had somebody get caught. We'd be down 2. We might be down 3, and the game would be over. Nothing changed about the way that we played the game. We stayed and we played our game, played it the right way. And when the opportunity came, the puck went in the net. And this is why I agree with you, John, to a great extent on your point about how the Leafs are positioned right now. I really agree that this is the best team that we have had in the Matthews era. And again, I say that because I fundamentally believe this. The way this team has been coached from the beginning of the season has prepared us for what we're going to walk into in the playoffs. That Los Angeles game is a microcosm of the whole season.
Oh, that was a playoff game. Absolutely.
But really, it's a microcosm of the way we've approached this season, right? We like, I have not. How many times did we start to play structured, proper hockey last year, and then it would fall apart, and we go back to fire wagon, up and down the ice. Let's dipsy doodle. We haven't done that this year, right? And again, and I'm going to say something that is maybe a bit of a hot take. I think the big outside of the coach, I think Chris Tanev might be the biggest reason for why that's happened. That guy, if there is an MVP on this team for this season, that's a quiet MVP. He's not a sexy MVP. But my God, man, watch Chris Tanev every night. Like he does everything right. Very rarely do you find him out of position. Very rarely do you see him doing something where you go, that was Tanev? Geez, that never, you never see it, man. He's steady, he's calm, and he has built the trust with especially the Nylanders of the world and the Marners of the world that they're not going to get exposed when they make a run. They know he's back there and he's going to take care of business. So I really like that.
Just let me interject here about Tanev, and I have a point here. I'm a big, as you guys know, when I teach my clinics and things, I talk a lot about body language. I can tell a lot about a hockey player by watching their body language. If somebody calls me and says, "Hey, I'm looking at a kid in the queue. Can you go to a Mooseheads game and let me know what you think?" Right. So I'm going to position myself, at a junior game or a midget game or whatever. Always find a spot where I can see the bench of the kid I'm looking at, right? And I watch that individual. Of course, you're going to watch their shifts, okay? But at the end of the day, the shifts you can watch on tape. I could pull up anything right now, any level. I mean, Jack's games are taped, right? He's 10, 11 years old. So it's not the shifts that scouts are looking for. It's that interaction with the coach. It's the interaction with your teammates. It's the body language. And what I can tell you about Chris Tanev, and I've used him as an example, Jack's a defenseman as well. And I used him as an example a lot because if the camera pans in on Chris Tanev, whether he's skating to the bench or skating to the penalty box or on the bench, you don't know whether Chris Tanev just put a pizza up the middle and they buried the overtime winner, or Chris Tanev did a Bobby Orr goal, went coast to coast, got tripped and flew through the air and scored, or they just won the Stanley Cup, or his dog died. You wouldn't know. He's the same guy. And that tells me a lot about a professional athlete. Forget about hockey. It tells me that guy is going to go out and he's going to take care of business. He's going to do his job. He's going to do everything that he can and that is in his power to help his team win a hockey game or a title or whatever. And nothing's going to faze him. And if you had 22 Chris Tanevs, you're going to win. You're right. He's an absolute unsung hero with this group and his calming influence back there. And, it doesn't matter the situation. And, he's been.
And listen, has Jake McCabe not turned into a bit of a revelation playing with him?
Absolutely.
Listen, when we got McCabe, we were all pretty excited. We all thought McCabe, okay, good young player.
I thought McCabe was like a more offensive, less defensive Tanev, but heavy and,
But all of a sudden,
doing it all.
Got the two of them together. When was the last time we had a legitimate shutdown guys that you could throw out and you're comfortable? You're just good.
Yeah, no question. No question.
I don't know when the last time was that we had that. Yeah. So, coming into listen, I've billed this as probably the biggest regular season week that the Leafs have had in a decade, right? We have not been in the position where like we control our own destiny on whether or not we're going to win a division. And listen, for all the people that are out there that say it doesn't matter, it's a division, yada yada. This team has not won anything in the Matthews, Marner, Nylander nothing. We haven't won anything. We haven't won close. And so for everybody that says it doesn't matter, it matters. It matters. It says that you can do it, right?
Yeah, we just had a comment here, and same as Carlo, since he's been here also.
Oh, Brandon Carlos, but when he fought that other
Austin
night,
Doobie. Shout out to Austin. You know, I know he listens and watches the program because he comments. And, great point, Austin. He's been fantastic. I like seeing him mix it up the other night. That helps to get your teammates
yourself. Yeah,
kind of shows them. I think they knew it. They played against the guy enough that he's been a pro. He's going to stick up for his teammates. He's going to do the right thing. He's going to be a battler in the trenches when you need it. And he's got he's a solid skater. He can contribute a little bit. He makes a good first pass. He's the type of guy. Again,
what I like more about Brandon Carlo, and I know it's a Leaf broadcast and it's going to sound sacrilegious, is he comes from the Boston style, right? So, like, listen, nobody hates the Bruins more than I do, but my God, do I respect the Boston Bruins and the way that they run their ship. And he is, he's a guy that's come up with the Bruins, learned the Bruin way, so to speak. That he's not coming into a situation. You never have to worry about a Brandon Carlo getting bullied or pushed around, or like that's just not ingrained in those guys. So again, I like. So again, let's look at where we are as far as, and John, you brought up a good point when you said about how we're constructed. I think, like, again, I'm quite comfortable with whether it's Stoli or whether it's Wall. I think it's probably going to be Stoli, my own personal opinion.
Yeah, I think Wall took himself out of it the other night. I thought he kind of,
that one where he went between his legs and he wasn't sure what. I mean,
he's going to be in it. You're going to face adversity. This team's not going to go 16-0 and sweep 4 hockey clubs.
Right.
He's going to. Whoever starts, it will have an opportunity, but the other guy's going to get a chance.
Yeah, for sure. And listen, you're going to get, and like, listen, we've all watched hockey long enough. I've seen Vasilevsky get pulled. I've seen, Bobrovsky get pulled, Patrick Waugh get pulled, Fuhr get pulled. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to happen. You're going to have a night, and it's just not your night.
And I think both of these guys are going to be grateful, not only for the opportunity, if they get it, to be the guy, but to be there, right? And I think that neither one of them have had it. We're not bringing in a guy like Fleury, for example. Not that he would be a bad option for us, but Fleury's been there. He's won it. Is he hungry? You know what I mean? Is he going to be ready if the other guy goes down? These guys are going to be ready. They're going to push each other.
And with somebody like Stolarz, who last year was there for the whole thing, didn't play a huge part.
Yeah,
but was there for the whole thing.
He can settle it down by using.
And he knows what that feels like too, though.
Well, that's experience, right? And,
right.
And when you talk about winning cups, and people say, "Oh, how many guys won a cup on that team?" It matters, because when your back's against the wall in Game 6 and you're down 4-2 after 2, and the guy beside you can go, "Hey, we were down 5-2 after 2 in Game 6 when we won the cup, and we buckled down, and they were ready to." They were ready to get on the flight and go home, and we played a good third period like we can. So guys like that can calm the younger guys and the guys that haven't been there. So yeah, I mean, it's constructed very well. And when you talk about construction, you talk about versatility, right? So if you're building a building, you're building it, and it's not going to be a building that people are going to around. There's got to be this to do, and you have to have different looks at what you can do with the aesthetics of the building. And I can't remember a team. I mean, you've got we know who the top 3, top 6, or top 4, top 6 are. We know who probably the bottom 2, bottom 6 are, maybe bottom 3, bottom 6. The other ones are all interchangeable. Like he could go, you lay an egg in a game, and guys aren't gelling. He could literally sit there with a computer, some sort of a program, and spit out combinations that we wouldn't have even thought of that may work. And when you have that much depth and you have that much, you have guys, like I said, that are going to be watching the hockey game that the team on the other side of the ice would love to have in their lineup. And everybody needs to realize that. And that's going to make you a little looser when you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go in and finish my checks, and I'm going to get into the scrum. And if I get hurt, that's okay. Next guy up. I'm going to play the right way. I'm not going to dodge a check. I'm not going to, do a flyby and a one-hand wave at the guy because my shoulder's a little sore. No, I'm going to run him through the end boards. And if it pops my shoulder out, big deal, right? Because somebody's going to walk into my, and they're going to move stuff around. So it gives everybody that kind of a confidence. It does. From your top players right down to the guy that, needs 5 injuries to get in the lineup.
To just show though, too, what you're saying. What I loved about the win the other night was that it was Lorentz that got it.
Yeah.
And
I think he has 4 game winners this year, too.
Okay. So not only that, but I don't know if you guys noticed, he was excited and he was thrilled. But that bench, when he got the goal, that bench went nuts for him. And I thought, that tells me everything I need to know about Steven Lorentz. You know what I mean? Fourth line player has come in, said he knew what his job was.
Shorty he got to a couple weeks ago in New York, I think.
And
was it New York or somewhere?
And so again, I'm going to give full marks to Tree Living for bringing that guy in, right? The guys that we brought in, like again, Stanley Cup guy with Florida, didn't play a huge role, but he's been there now and he's paying dividends, right? Stolars, again, Stanley Cup guy, paying dividends. Tanev, right? Chris Tanev, Jesus. But full marks. I'm quite comfortable with where we are. I thought we needed, when we let that first one go in San Jose, I thought, boy, we got to pretty much run the table here. And shout out to the boys, and they took care of business.
Yeah, but how about this? How about ever since that you were ready to ship Max Domi on the out to the pasture because he had 2 goals.
I'm still ready to ship him out.
Like that. I defend him. Wait until March. Wait until the playoff. He's been arguably their best player over the last 5 or 8 games. Like he's been forget about the points. Yeah, he's got a couple. He's got some assists. He's driving his line, and he's doing all the little things that you kind of knew he would. And I'm glad that and that's a guy like Berube, right? That he gets. He played in the NHL for a long time. He understands that we don't need everybody to be on from October 15th to April 1st. We just need enough guys to be on at times enough that we're not fighting for a playoff spot. We can try things. We can, rest an injury if we need to in the last week. But now Max Domi is like, because there was talk of him getting shipped out of here. They might have traded him if they could have found somebody that would take him. That's
they would have.
Yeah,
that's what happens.
Anyway, I defend him.
3 goals in 5 months.
I defend him, and of course, what happens?
Domi has 5 goals in March alone.
Right. And you wanted him out of here.
Hey, listen, that's 166% more than he had in the first 5 months of the season.
Shame on you. They're harder to score in March than they are in November.
So they say.
5 in March is like 12 in November. Wouldn't it be, Nolan?
And actually, with the tariffs now, it's about 23.
Yeah. So,
yes.
Yeah. What do you think, Noel? I mean,
where do you sit?
Like, you guys tell me what you think. So, remember coming out of the break, coming out of the 4 Nations, and they did a strength of schedule thing. Okay. And the Toronto Maple Leafs, I don't know who did it. I read it. And I kind of laughed it off. They said based on home records, away records, where you are in the standings, blah, 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 blah. Toronto has the easiest schedule. I'm sorry, but I'm just looking at the last 8, and we'll talk
Look at who we end with. Look at who we end with.
No. Here's the last 8. Forget about the Ducks and the Sharks. Yeah, you should beat them. Flyers, same. I'm going back a little bit. Predators, yeah. Rangers should be a playoff team. Avalanche, Flames, right? Flames, Senators fighting. Now we got Florida at home tomorrow. Blue Jackets who are fighting for their lives and playing some really inspired hockey.
We can't beat them either.
For what that group went through with, losing Johnny Gaudreau in the summer and the way they came together. Monahan isn't even playing, and he's been arguably their best player. Van Riemsdyk looks like he's 10 years ago.
Yep.
But it makes me happy for that organization. It really does, because, obviously the loss and stuff like that, but for them to, even if they don't get in, they don't get in, but they're nobody's going to count them out.
Yeah.
I'm not counting them out. So that's a team that Toronto has trouble with. They're fighting. Then you go back you go down to Florida, Tuesday and Wednesday, Florida, and then Tampa back to back. Come home Saturday, you get Montreal in here that's fighting, right? They need every point right now to get that last wild card. Then you go to Carolina, and then you come home to Buffalo, who that'll be their Stanley Cup. They can come in and knock Toronto out of first place in the on the last night of the season. They'd be throwing their gloves. There'd be a banner.
Yeah,
we knocked,
It's true.
It's so true. And Detroit's still in it. When Detroit wins 4 out of their 6 going into that game, or 7 or whatever it is, they're playing for something. There's not an easy night.
No.
Right?
Well, and listen, that's why I said this is arguably
a good thing.
The biggest week in the regular season in a decade for the Leafs. It really is. Right?
Yeah, I don't disagree, and it's a good way to start to figure out what's how they're going to play. And
really,
I'm going to say, hey, it's playoffs.
Let's start tomorrow against Florida. 100%.
So you got 9 games left. Let's make it a best of 9. See how we do. You can win 6 of those. You can win 6 of the last 9. Is it 9 or 8? 1, 2, 3,
73 games. So we got 8 left, right?
No, I think 9. 82. 9. So 9 games left.
Or no, 8. We
played
24.
No, it's 9. Panthers, Blue Jackets, Panthers, Lightning, Maple Leafs, Hurricanes. Oh yeah, you're right. 8. So I think you need 12 points to get the division.
Yeah,
probably. You win 6 or you win 5 and you drop 2. Get 12 points in the last 8 games. You win the division easily.
Just quickly before we go here, did you guys see the other night the Florida-Montreal game when Nico Mikkola took the slapper down the ice?
Yeah.
And then they play against tonight, so I'm going to go watch the game at 7 as soon as it starts. I hope
Somebody's going to jump him.
Jack Guy's going to jump Mikkola.
I would.
And
I might have,
would you?
I might have got suspended at that game.
Yeah.
He's lucky they.
And if if Montreal can beat Florida, that takes away Florida's game in hand, and we're still up 3 coming into tomorrow.
So now you got to win one of the Florida games, right? That's it.
Hold on, listen though, because I wanted to go back to what you just said. If you're the coach of Montreal going into this game, where you got to keep winning, right? Yeah. It's not about Arbor Jacki fighting tonight. It's about getting 2 points.
Yeah.
And so if Arbor Jacki goes out and is an idiot and puts the Habs down and they let that power play go and they get down 2.
That's not how it's going to play out, though, John. Come on.
I'm just telling you.
That's not how it's going to play out, because guess what? Guess who coaches the Florida Panthers? One of the most honorable men in the game. Played it, coached it the right way, been around it forever. Paul Maurice, don't kid yourself, has already had a conversation with this McCalla or Miko, whatever his name is, and he's told them, they're coming after you, and you better answer the bell, because if you're going to behave like that, you better answer the bell. If you play for Paul Maurice and he goes out there and turtles and chicken shits and
I'm
stuff
not saying
like that,
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying.
Jack Guy won't have to jump him.
Jack Guy's a little bit of an idiot at the best.
He's not. He won't jump him. He's gonna. They might start. He's gonna. That they know Florida Panther. Everybody on that team knows that guy better step up and at. You want to be an effing idiot and take a head high slap shot, and in the dying seconds, you have to answer the bell. And
don't misunderstand my point. I'm not saying he shouldn't have to answer the bell. I'm just saying it's Arbor Jacki, and I've seen that guy do stupid things many times.
If Arbor Jacki has to jump the guy and gets a 2-minute instigator, so be it. What that's going to do for your team, it's a 2-minute. You know what? You can get the same amount of a power play for a little slash to the hands or a hook or no, it's worth it. It's worth it. It's going to show, and it might, but don't kid yourself. It might not be Arbor Jacki too. I don't think it needs to be Arbor Jacki. There's a couple other guys on that team.
That's also true.
Yeah. So it might not necessarily be him. I would like it to be him just because I think a guy like that needs to get his head caved in and watch.
I will say though, it does make me uncomfortable cheering for Montreal.
What's that?
I was watching that game on Sunday. Kara and I were on the couch watching. She just looked at me. She was like, "Dad, do you feel kind of just like, I don't know, not right about what we're doing right now?" And I said, "No, I feel terrible. Like it's
fun to watch. For fun. I'm obviously not a Montreal fan at all, but I'll tell you, I made a prediction. We can go pull tape here. God, I'm right a lot, John. Like, did you notice how right I am?
It's painful, Johnny. Johnny, it's painful.
Tape. Pretty sure I called Lane Hudson for the Rookie of the Year before he played.
It's looking pretty good now. I think he's probably the front runner now.
You think he's over Celebrini?
Only if Wolf is the only, and Mitchkov and Celebrini could have won it any other year, right? Like they might have won it last year against Bedard. It would have been, their numbers are very similar to what Connor's were last year. But when you've got a defenseman that's got almost 60 assists as a rookie in the National Hockey League, holy smokes! And he's not playing with Nathan McKinnon. He's not playing with JT Miller. I'm doing the comment. I don't think he's Cale Makar. Don't get me wrong here, but he's doing it with.
Did you see the goal by Makar last night?
Yeah,
I
know.
Jesus,
I think he's 28th on the year.
My God, Cale.
Yeah, he's getting 30. Yeah, he's getting 30. But Lane Hudson, I mean, he's fun to watch. He just is. I liked his little brother in the World Juniors too. He's the same kind of player and real dynamic. He's Washington, I think.
Yeah, they're both second-round picks.
Yeah, because they're a little undersized, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, and Dustin Wolf was a 7th-round pick too.
Yeah. I mean, Dustin Wolf wins it any other year, but I mean, you can't. Yeah. He's in the top 10 of assists by a rookie defenseman in NHL history. Not like in the last 15 years.
Yeah. I think if Montreal gets in, he'll get it.
I don't think they need to get in. I think if Calgary gets in and Montreal doesn't, it might make it closer. But you can't not give this kid that award because guess what? Wolf can go win a Vezina next year if Calgary has a good year. This kid's not going to win.
I don't even think it's close. I'll be honest. If it's between him and Wolf, it's not even close.
That's who it's between.
Yeah, I'm saying for me, I like Celebrini just based on watching the kid play. But I can't argue. You can't argue the numbers. But Wolf to me he's fine. He's fine. I just don't see him as better than either of those two guys.
So
my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I look at what he does for the team. He's been their best player, and I don't think they're going to get in, but he's been their best player, and he's a rookie in a tough market.
Yeah,
a rookie goaltender in Calgary or Edmonton or Ottawa or any Canadian franchise is a lot different. Same with, you could say the same thing for Lane Hudson.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And he was getting some heat at the beginning of the year. Oh, why is he up? He should be in the minors. Mayu should be up. This guy should be here. Oh, he's too small. He's getting knocked around. He wasn't scoring at a feverish pace at the beginning of the year. Now he is. And now the games are tougher and harder. And he's got a team that none of us thought were going to be even in the playoff mix.
Nobody did, to be fair.
And he is leading that team. Say what you want about Suzuki. He's played well. Caulfield's played well, for sure. Cool. But Lane Hudson's driving the bus, right? Without his first pass and
what? Can we stop talking about Montreal? I don't even want to talk about Montreal. It just makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, so let's get to our point predictions here. Just have Panthers in town tomorrow, and then Columbus.
Okay, hold on. So, but
on
before
Saturday.
we get to that, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the major NHL news this week with Rogers re-upping for 7.7 billion. I want to say
That's American. It's like 11 billion Canadian.
So
we don't have to get into this. We can just pull the tape when we talked about it 6 months ago, and I told you exactly what was going to happen, and it's happening. Somebody's going to take
like John had his orange juice this morning, and he is all fired up. Pull the tape here, pull the tape there.
Well, I'm telling you, like they talk about Mystic Mike. I predict everything. Everything. I said somebody's holistically going to go in and get it all. And now they have options. Now they can, as the NHL starts to gain popularity, like we saw coming out of the Four Nations, and people are talking about it, and they're, all these different ideas. There's expansion.
Hey, and listen,
pay $1.5 billion to come in.
John,
right?
Do you want to know?
Amazon
who I think?
gonna...
So hold on. So you want to know who I think needs a crap ton of credit here and has done more for the NHL since he's not played is PK Subban. I don't know if you saw the rant that PK Subban went on when he was on. I think he was on First. He was either on First Take. He was on one of the ESPN shows, and
talking about basketball and
just destroyed them.
And,
destroyed them. And then he went on a plethora of other shows afterwards, and I kind of thought, man, PK Subban, you're really nailing what it is here that hockey does. Interestingly, for those that don't follow necessarily the economics of TV negotiations and whatnot, I found this interesting. The deal with Sportsnet was very much backloaded in costs that were paid to the NHL, which interestingly upticked the last two seasons, which ironically was when a block of Monday night games got sold off to Amazon. So I would suspect, and again, nothing has been confirmed because it's still very murky. It's still early days in what they're releasing and what they're not releasing here. There is, in all of the releases that I've seen so far, there's nothing that says exclusivity in the Canadian market. Now, I find it hard to believe you're going to sign up for an 11 sheets deal and not have exclusivity, but maybe there's not. I fully suspect that you're going to see TSN or RDS in the French markets get regional coverage still, as same as they always have.
Amazon too.
I fully suspect that they're going to sell off Monday night games, same as they have been, to Amazon. Personal opinion, I don't know this, but I would not be surprised to see Apple TV get in there. Apple,
pull the tape.
No, but if you 100%. Go back in, Apple,
they're going to make money. They're going to make money.
So Apple TV, believe it or not, with all of the great shows that they have on it, is a money losing venture right now. And the only real programming that they have via live sports is MLS. So it wouldn't surprise me to see that there. I know the overall reaction from fans has been, mother of God, not again. Yeah. It is not, especially after seeing the way ESPN and TNT have produced the games maybe a little bit differently. Yeah. With the Biz crew and
I like
Gretzky
that. I like that Thursday night prime thing.
Listen,
Jack and I've watched that several times.
And John, here's the thing though. Everybody likes that. Even the people who are pissed off because, you can't watch the Amazon Prime game if you don't have, I think the Leafs have played 3 games so far on Amazon. And so half the nation's pissed off because they can't watch the game. The other half who see the game go, man, they do a pretty good job with it.
Yeah. Hey, shout out too, like these guys that do all these little collabs and stuff on the Thursday night thing. What about the TML Weekly guys?
Oh, legendary.
Don't think it is.
But you know what though? When you look at it, I hope Rogers is paying attention here and are going to turn around and say, we've got to make some changes because the get along gang and the no opinion on anything and let's teach people what a blue line is. And it's not working. It's got to change. And they've put a crap ton of money on the board here. And I can only hope for everybody that watches and loves hockey and wants to see Hockey Night in Canada, the brand return to kind of where it was, that we get there.
You're going to see a lot of cool things. And I'll end it with
I hope so.
What I see happening now is because the NHL has a bigger stick than they've ever had, right? Huge, right? The cap's going up. The players are, they're going to the CBA. This isn't going to be an ugly CBA. This is going to be a woohoo CBA, and there's going to be expansion money coming in. The players are going to get some of that. It has to happen. That's going to keep them happy and give the owners 84 games, maybe an extra 2 or, a couple less exhibition. I don't know. You're seeing the best on best being planned. You're going to have some niche stuff where like Monday Night Football is Monday Night Football, right? You're going to start to see that, and it's going to be produced by different entities, and there's going to be some interactive stuff, kind of like what we do here. You're going to also see a lot more features because people that like the sport like to know about the people that are playing it, and that doesn't matter what sport. I love to watch the Mark Messier stuff on that Prime. He does a bit.
He's great
in the first period. It's wonderful. He was my hero growing up, and to watch that guy talk about the game in just like a matter of fact way, like that's what we did in the 70s or the 80s in Edmonton. That's how we live, right? I lived with Kevin Lowe, and it just like, to me, I would break down the 2 goals and the fight in the first period and have a couple guys and give them 3 minutes and then do your interview and then give me a feature. That's what I'm going to pay attention to.
Or let's be honest, don't do the interview. What is he? Mitch, you scored that goal in the first period. How do you feel? We're just trying to get pucks deep. We're trying to get the cycle game on. And you know what? We're really going to buckle down and try hard in the third period.
As a body language guy, I love those interviews.
I hate those interviews. They add nothing.
Yeah, and I love those interviews for the kid that just got called up and is playing.
Okay, that's different. Yeah, that's okay.
That's what I like it for. Yeah, you know what? If I don't see Mitch or Austin or JT,
yeah, like I don't mind. Do it on the one-off for the kid who's just come up and gets his shot.
Yeah, for sure. But you're going to see a lot of cool different things coming. I'm excited. It's going to be fun to watch, and we'll keep everybody tuned. But yeah, if you're listening there, Prime people, give us a holler.
We're available.
Nolan will do a good deal for us. Hey, Noel, you negotiate?
Yeah.
All right.
Get my suit on. All right. Out of 4 points, what are we picking up this week?
6 points.
There's only 4. There's only 2 games.
They played 3 times.
Tomorrow and Saturday.
Oh, so it's tomorrow, Saturday, and next Tuesday.
And then next Tuesday will be before that.
And it's Columbus and Florida, huh?
Yep. Both at home.
I got to take the 4.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go 4 as well. Yeah.
You know what? We got to win that Florida game, so I'm gonna take the 4.
I'll go 2. I say we lose to Columbus because we always do. And then just before we wrap up, the Leafs can clinch tonight if the Habs lose to the Panthers or the Blue Jackets lose to the Predators. So not playing tonight, but we can clinch. So
not worried about that.
Yeah,
I feel like we want to cheer against the Blue Jackets as opposed to I can't believe we want Montreal to win, but I guess we do.
I just want them to beat that guy's wheels off. That's all I want.
So listen, but before we get out of here tonight, thank you to our sponsors, Don Cherry Sports Grill, Bjorn Hockey. But we do want to send a special shout out. Mark LaForest, former Maple Leaf goalie, passed away today. So thoughts and prayers go to
born in 63. So what would he be? He would have been 62.
Yeah, I
him on the teams with Wendell and those kind of guys back in the day.
I got to meet him at a Leaf event once, and great guy. Talked to him for about 20 minutes. Everything you'd want to have in a former NHLer talking to somebody. Great guy, and he'll be missed. Go Leafs, go.
See you guys. Have a good rest of your week, and we'll talk to everybody next Tuesday.